Friends and enemies. Friends and enemies. Sorry. We're back again. I'm Len. I am doing this one without Joey. It's been a while since I've done an episode. In fact, last week it was released my episode with Tony, but that was recorded about a month ago. So I haven't done this for quite some time. Either way, I'll be talking to the founder of Bitvora, utxo. In fact, he's doxing his real name. I don't want to dox it. I want him to dox it for himself, because we're not the kind of guys that like to give information on people. It's if people want to do it, it's up to them to do it. Either way, I got a couple of things I got to rip off my list of things to do. Number one, it's going to be a sponsorship. And number two is a sponsorship. Number one sponsor, we have EasyDNS. And who the heck is EasyDNS? Well, they are a provider of registrar services. So your friendly neighborhood registrar. So if you want to register a domain name, there are people you want to do it. Web hosting, email hosting. If you are a business and you have email hosting and web hosting, you may want to consider moving over to EasyDNS and migrating over to them. Why? Because they are privacy focused and you won't get rug pulled. These guys have been in the business for decades. Also, if maybe you're in a new business or maybe an individual that want it to look a little bit more professional, because you could have your own email address or your own web page. So the email address, you could be like, Len at CanadianBitcoiners.com. Look, we're very professional. We have our own very own web name. So you could use EasyDNS to do that. And they've been in this business, like I said, for decades. A lot of businesses have come and gone, but they have stood the test of time. Why? Because they provide A1 service. They are the best in the game. And if you need help, they'll give you a helping hand and show you how to do it. Furthermore, if you're going to do anything with them, load up your cart, because if you do, the code CBP Media will provide you 50% off your initial purchase. So you might as well, if you're going to do it, make one huge motherfucking order, and it's going to be 50% off when you do that, when you use their code. So check them out, easydns.com with the promo code CBP Media. Number two, we have Bull Bitcoin. The price of Bitcoin showing behind me is 90K Canadian. Oh, sorry, USD. Canadian, I don't know what that is. Maybe 120, where the fuck it is. Either way. Good time to buy, good time to sell, whatever you think, whatever, you're good to go with Bull Bitcoin. They're not custodial. This is what you want in exchange. When you want to buy or sell, you got to do it right away. You got to provide them an address. Also, if you're just doing anything with them, maybe you want to buy, sell, you could do on-chain and Lightning. On-chain, why would you do it? Well, when fees are cheap, this is the way to do it. But when fees are high, what do? You'd be scrambling, how am I going to buy Bitcoin? Well, use Lightning. That's another way to do it. And Bull Bitcoin, they provide you those opportunities to do that. Also, you could buy gift cards with them, and so you can spend your Bitcoin indirectly in the real world by using the gift cards you buy from them. Also, you could pay your bills, right? So you might have some outstanding bills you got to pay, and they're knocking on your door saying, we want your money. Well, you know what you could do? You could use your Bitcoin to pay for those bills. So check them out. If you haven't opened up an account with Bull Bitcoin, do so with our referral code below. And if you do that, $21 will be added to your account. So with that being said, I'm going to bring on the man utxo. I don't want to say his real name. I'll let him be the person that provides that information. How are you, buddy?
I'm doing well, Len. Thanks for having me. Yes, my name's Barry. Everyone on GitHub knows it's not new news.
Okay, I didn't know that. Well, yeah. Barry, thanks for coming on the show again. Last time you were on as a NIM. At least you showed your face, but this time you're giving me a little bit more information. And I hope that's all we're going to get from you moving forward. We don't want any more information from you aside from what you provided right now, which is great. So yeah, it's great to have you on again. So what's new with you for the past few months? I'm curious, is anything's changed with you? Anything that's come up with you? Because we have a lot that's going on in Canada with the United States with tariffs and shit like that. So what do you think is going on these days?
Yeah, well, I mean, for me, I'm just mostly keeping my head down, pumping out a lot of code. So, over the past few months, everyone on Nostr has probably seen, released a lot of new relays. Really excited about the algo relay, which is one of the first. It is the first algorithmic relay on Nostr. So finally, users can truly control their own algorithms. They can log into a relay, set what's important, are zaps important, reactions, that kind of thing. So yeah, I mean, I've been really head down on open source Nostr development, but also building out some really cool Bitcoin commerce solutions as well.
And I want to dive really deep into Bitvora, which is essentially the commerce solutions. But you touched upon the new Nostr algo relay. Now, before we even go any further, for people who are unaware, what the heck is Nostr?
So Nostr, at its core, it's just a way to pass messages around that are cryptographically signed and very tough to censor, because all these notes live on people's personal computers and what we call relays, which is just another word for a server. Right now, its big use case is like doing social media, like censorship resistant social media. So we see like, a lot of Bitcoiners been getting hacked recently on Twitter. And a big part of this is because Twitter is custodying your account, basically. So with Nostr, you take custody of your own social media profile with your public and private key pairs, just like Bitcoin. So at a high level, that's what Nostr is. It's a decentralized protocol for sharing communications.
Have you been noticing there's been an uptick in people signing up and using Nostr? Because I've been on and off for the past year, but you have your foot, so you have your thumb on the footprint or the pulse of this. So like, what's going on in Nostr in terms of people signing up and using it?
Nostr is definitely growing now. The last time we talked, it was kind of like, looking steady, slash not growing, but just based on like my perception of the timeline, how many new users I'm seeing, it's definitely growing now.
Why? What would you think is the reason for that?
Like it's not exploding, okay? But I think it's just, things, it needs time and it needs to prove itself. I think, when these Bitcoiners get hacked and stuff, the first thing they do is turn to Nostr, because Nostr is like one of the only ways you can actually prove that you own the account. But I think it's just, it's getting better. And a lot of people, they kind of like jump in and out. Maybe they tried Nostr, it was a little bit clunky, and then they try again in 6 months, and now our clients are better, our relays are better. So I mean, I don't know. I don't think there's any like single factor other than, it's getting a lot better from a UX perspective. Yeah, that's probably the main reason, I would say.
Have you noticed that Lynn Alden's account? You mentioned people getting hacked on Twitter. Lynn's account was recently compromised, and you heard about that?
Yep. Lynn Alden and
Lawrence
as well.
Lawrence Lepard. Yeah.
Yep. And there will be more. It's not the end. When your account can just be hacked in some central database, and you're like, your 2FA is like email or phone or something, like this is never going to work. So many more people will get hacked.
That's too bad. That's happened to those people. And I heard that each of those two individuals, both Larry and Lynn, are having a terrible time trying to regain their account. For whatever reason, there's been a lot of pushback or whatever. The ex people just aren't giving them whatever service they have. Like, think of all the people they brought on in terms of engagement and shit like that, and they're just treating them like, like me, right? Like I'm just a nobody in Twitter land. But it's too bad they're doing it to these two folks, which I think that they've done a lot.
You think they take better care of the bigger accounts, but they don't really, especially consider like that's how Twitter makes all their money. Like putting ads next to Lynn Alden's feed is how they make money. But they'll just let her account sit there hacked. I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me, but such is life.
You talked about this new algo relay. For people that are unaware, and I'm just actually learning about it right now, the way Nostr worked, at least still does in my application, is it's done by timeline. So it's getting all the people I follow and all the posts that they put in chronological order, for the newest being at the top and going from there. So who's done this algo relay? Is this something that you're doing, or is it something you're helping out? I want to know more about this.
Sure. Yep. So Algo Relay is my project, or it's a Bitvora project, and it is very generously supported by OpenSats. So thank you, OpenSats, and the team there. But yeah, like you mentioned, the majority of Nostr clients right now fall into like a very monolithic sort of paradigm where it's, you follow a bunch of people and then you have one feed, which is a chronological order of posts from people you follow. And that's basically your feed. But we see that like basically no social media feeds work this way. They're all algorithmically based, and it's like that for a reason. Like that's because that's what users want. Um, Now, it's not to say that a chronological feed is bad, but we need lots of different types of feeds. Like the one major problem with a chronological feed is if, let's say, you don't check it for a day, you just missed all the good content.
Yeah.
If you want to come in, you want to come in and see like what's popular in your network at the very least. But at the same time, we don't want to fall into like the Twitter trap, which is like having a rage bait algorithm. And the way that you farm engagement and get eyes on your client is to just piss people off all the time and show them content they hate. So we're trying to take like, I guess the absolute opposite approach is like with Algo Relay, the big idea behind it is we surface the best content of the authors that you love best and the content in their network that they love best. So it helps you discover new content from people that you don't follow, and the people you do follow, it ensures that you don't miss their content if you, heaven forbid, take a day off of Nostr. So that's the big idea behind Algo Relay. And we just had a really substantial launch of version 0.2, which really puts users in control. Like if you go on Twitter, you don't have any control over the algorithm. You can't say that you don't like rage bait and you like, only Bitcoin stuff or whatever. But in Algo Relay, you can actually log into it and modify how your algorithm works and have full control over it, which is really cool. I don't see any other services or social media that gives users that level of control and transparency. So pretty excited about it. I think this is the future of social media right here, but time will tell.
That's fucking amazing. Now, in terms of people that want to take advantage of it, is there one particular relay, or is this a code that you could run on your own relay and that you're able then to connect to it and use it like that?
So Algo Relay is fully open source, so anybody can run this relay if they want. It does need a bit of a bigger server than your typical relay. But yeah, anyone can run it. Right now, my relay is the main one. There's plenty of others out there, though. People can access it by going to algo.utxo.1. So that's the homepage where you can log in and like change your settings and whatnot. And then it also has a couple of clients that currently support it. So if you use Jumble or Coracle right now, and there are a few others, you can actually browse the relay and get those feeds right in your client. But not all clients support it yet. But I see that changing pretty soon.
So it's algo.utxo.1, ONE, correct?
Yep, ONE.
Okay, so if say I'm using Amethyst, does it work with that? Does it work with, what are some other big ones? Primal?
Nope, Primal, Amethyst, Damus,
Damus, that's the other one.
No Strudel. Most of the biggest clients are not currently supporting it. But I think that they will. So like right now you can use Jumble or Coracle. I mean, Coracle is pretty OG, pretty big. And Jumble is definitely a really nice up and coming project made by a guy named Cody, who's a very talented developer. So yeah, currently in those, but I think the reason why clients haven't typically been supporting it is because when we started Nostr, most of the relays are pretty much just dumb. Like it's just anyone can post to it. And there's no like theme to the relay. There's nothing special about why you would want to browse one particular relay in the early days. But now we've developed, especially at Bitvora, we've developed a lot of different types of like smart relays. So we have like Web of Trust, we have Algo Relay, we have simple whitelisting ones. Like one example is the Bitcoin Park relay. So Bitcoin Park is like a members only grassroots community in Nashville. Very high signal Bitcoiners are members of that group. So as an example, you can, if a client would allow you, you could browse the Bitcoin Park relay and just see what members of that relay are saying. So there's more and more use cases like this popping up for relays and why we would want to have like particular relay feeds. And Algo Relay would fit right into that, as well as a whole bunch of other types of relays.
Is the algo relay a paid one? Because there have been some in the past that's pay to use it, but is this one that's just free to use for clients that are able to take advantage of it?
Yep, it's free to use. The one I'm running is currently free to use. We also, like, Bitvora has developed premium relays as well that you could pay for. And the big advantage of paid relays is, you have a certain level of service level agreement. Like the relay operator is, making guarantees about keeping your content. But also our premium relays also come with a Blossom server. So this helps like the decentralization of Nostr. So your files, you upload a meme or something with your note, you can self-host that note or like pay a provider to host it for you, and hopefully in a decentralized way. So lots of relay operators can offer these premium relays and file hosting through Blossom.
In terms of the future of Nostr, what do you see that's going to be coming out in the future for something that maybe somebody's working on something that's just something very exciting, or something groundbreaking, so to speak?
Well, I think what Nostr does is like, like big tech did solve a lot of the like UX that people wanted that are proven to work. Like there wouldn't be 1 billion plus people using Facebook if they didn't get something right about the user experience. So, but I mean, what they all got wrong, and of course they did, is that they're centralized companies and governments can at any time tell them what to do and have done that. Like there's plenty of proven cases where the government is manipulating what people see on social media. So what I see in Nostr, and we're seeing it more and more, like just one example, shout out Pablo, he made an application called OLAS, which is effectively an Instagram clone. But it has all the benefits of Nostr. Is one, it's censorship resistant, which is most important, and two, they have built-in Bitcoin wallets, which is another really cool thing happening on Nostr. I guess we could like parlay into that, is these new Cashew wallets where the money is on the relays. So instead of using like a big centralized custodian, you can keep your Cashew eCash as Nostr notes on relays, which is really cool. So there's, like a government can't really go after Cashew the same way they could go after, let's say, Wallet of Satoshi or even Bitvora, so that's a really cool thing coming to Nostr, is that like all these accounts will just out of the box have wallets and money built right into them, which is another thing that like, social media companies, they haven't really done it. Twitter's been trying to do that for years now, maybe decades, and still haven't cracked it. So yeah, I'm pretty excited that Nostr will basically take the UX that big tech has solved and make it unstoppable and inject Bitcoin into it.
You mentioned Pablo's OLAS. I never heard of that project. OLAS, is that what it is?
OLAS, yep.
That's awesome. So because I talked to him infrequently. I gotta reach out to him because I'd love to see this. I mean, and is it that built on its own network, or does it tap into the Nostr network to make this work?
Yeah, it's completely Nostr native. There's no other network or anything. It's just a different kind of note. So when you post a note on Nostr, that's called a kind one, or like a text note. Mm-hmm. So Pablo just made a new kind of note. It's called kind 20, or an image note. And it's just a note that lives on any other relay, and it has a link to an image and then a caption. So it's just like any other note. It works with every relay right out of the box, and that's what's beautiful about Nostr, is anybody can do that. Like Pablo didn't need anyone's permission to like build that app, or like nobody had to agree. Okay, these are the kinds. Like he just built it. That's it, and anyone can do that, which is why Nostr is so good.
And one thing I think is lacking, maybe you could tell me that somebody filled this void. Twitter Spaces. I seem like sometimes I'm warm and cold to that. And when I'm warm to it, I always wonder, why can't there be a Nostr equivalent? But maybe there is one. Do you know of anything?
Yeah, there's a few. So probably the closest one is one called Nostr Nests. This is headed up by Derek Ross, is like the business founder of it, and a lot of Nostr devs contributed to building it. So that's one. There's another one called Corny Chat. It's also an OpenSat supported project. And there's another one called hivetalk.org.
I like that name.
Hivetalk. Yeah, great name. So there's at least three. But just again, like that's Nostr, right? Like just anybody can build these. You don't have
Yeah.
to have one Twitter Spaces. You can have a competition, a free market of Twitter Spaces on Nostr.
Let's talk about something else that's being built. Let's talk about Bitvora. And if I recall correctly, was built from the ashes of Nodalist. Am I correct?
Yep.
Where Nodalist, there may have been some potential encroachment by authorities. You decided to cut bait with that and started something new that would provide you with no issues with anybody moving forward. Is that correct? Is that like just a very high level?
Hopefully no issues.
Okay. What is Bitvora first before we go into this?
At the highest level, like Bitvora is a freedom tech company. So our goal is to just like advance human freedom through technology. And there are a few ways we're trying to achieve that. So we have like a couple of moonshots, so to speak. So one is we want to make Bitcoin the universal medium of exchange on planet Earth, So that's, Nodeless was a very small cog in that, but there were a lot of learnings, not just on the regulatory standpoint, but just like what businesses need, what consumers need to actually make Bitcoin truly viable. So we have a bunch of exciting products that we're working on Bitvora. Some are launched, some are not. We'll get into that as well. So that's like one arm is around Bitcoin as a medium of exchange. And then the other one is around freedom of speech, so Nostr. So a big part of what we do is building out open source Nostr relays. And the last I checked, something about 20% of the relays on Nostr now are running Bitvora code.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a lot. Almost pushing like over 100. The most popular like sovereign personal relay is the Nostr Haven relay. So just a lot of exciting stuff, really trying to push the boundaries of how people think about relays. Like I said, the initial paradigm was like smart client, dumb relay, but we're trying to really flip that on its head, because to me, it doesn't make sense that you would want your phone to have to handle all the compute when you have these big servers and data centers that could do things like compute algorithms and handle massive amounts of data. So that's a big part of what we do as well, is just building out these Nostr relays.
That's cool. And there's an overlap when you're talking about the freedom of speech, the Nostr side, and Bitcoin as the medium of exchange. There's a huge overlap between the two, because there's no permission when you use Bitcoin. It's collective money. It's taking money away from the people that historically have controlled it, and there's a huge overlap between the two. Have you ever reached out to Jack Dorsey at all? Because he is big on money of the internet, Bitcoin being money of the internet. So I'm wondering if you ever reached out to him in the past before.
Well, I mean, Nodeless would have never gained notoriety if Jack Dorsey didn't show his support for it way back in the day. And I did ask him before, but now with Bitvora, I haven't asked. I've already asked once. He supported me once. So I haven't asked. I hope to earn it, though, so maybe he will see our work and help us promote it. But to answer your question, no, I did not ask him on Bitvora, for any sort of support or anything like that yet. And we're not quite ready. We have a few more pieces of the puzzle we need to build before we have something truly compelling.
Maybe you want to spill the beans, or is it still yet to be? Yeah, I'm fine if you want to keep these cards close to the vest, but I'm good with you on it.
I've shared some teasers on Nostr, so I'll share a little bit more. So basically, what we started out doing at Bitvora was trying to, because like we know Lightning is going to be a core part of medium of exchange, right? Like it's obviously not going to be on chain. Everybody knows that. And even Cashew, like, is the backbone is still Lightning when you're trying to redeem this Cashew eCash. So it's pretty much Lightning. So our idea was, okay, most of the users are on crypto exchanges, so let's go after the exchanges and get Lightning on all of them. It seemed to make sense. But if many big problems with exchanges that we came to learn over the last year or so is, one, Lightning destroys many shitcoin narratives. And exchanges are in the business of selling you shitcoins. So if you come in with Lightning, suddenly all these like fast blockchains are pointless, right? That's all they are, is they're just a fast version of Bitcoin. Well, if Lightning is, 100 times faster than them, why would anybody buy a Litecoin or a Bitcoin Cash or whatever? So exchanges don't really like that. The other thing is they're not trying to be wallets. They're not trying to advance medium of exchange. That's not the goal of exchanges, right? Again, same thing. They're trying to get you to buy and sell shit coins and play in their casino. They're not interested in advancing, human freedom and medium of exchange. So it was not, we had to learn that sort of the hard way. Of course, some exchanges are, but most of them are not. So that's like the number one reason. But then two, there's like their regulatory nightmare. Like even if they were sort of excited, because there is a use case for them around UTXO management. So if somebody wants to sell their Bitcoin, which is fine, you live on Bitcoin standard, sometimes you need to sell your Bitcoin. The exchanges wouldn't have to deal with on-chain fees if they're taking deposits over Lightning. So they would save a lot. So, and to some of them, especially ones with large like UTXO volume, it is a compelling use case. But then suddenly, now they need regulatory everything, every kind of license under the sun. They need SOC 2 certification. They need custom features just for them. Like they just need all sorts of stuff for very low reward. So basically, we're not really going after exchanges anymore. Like we do have an exchange product if they want to work with us, but where we're seeing the most traction is with small businesses and indie developers. We have like tire companies and chiropractors and casinos and all sorts of other clients that are finding really cool use cases for the Bitvora platform. So initially we sort of launched this thing that we call the Bitvora API, but the more time we spent in the market, I think the better word for it is it's a developer's wallet. So what's really cool about it, versus other wallets out there, is you can connect it to other third-party apps, whether you want to use an API, Nostr Wallet Connect, webhooks. We have all sorts of ways to like connect this wallet to any other app that no other wallet does. So that's sort of like one core piece, is that, these businesses, they can't run their own nodes.
Right.
So they need sort of a wallet service. So that's the first piece of what we built. But the second, which is what we're working on now, I've been teasing on Nostr, is basically what I believe is the final piece of the pie to make Bitcoin truly viable for merchants. And it's a product we're currently calling it Bitvora Commerce. The name will change, but think of it as like Stripe for Bitcoin. We're the world's first platform where you can do Bitcoin subscriptions self-custodially from your own wallet. So you can pay for it's pretty sweet. So you could, let's say you wanted to subscribe to I don't know, your local rancher is going to send you 10 steaks a month, okay? And he wants 500,000 sats a month. You can create a Nostr wallet connection with your butcher, and automatically he can pull whatever you've set as the budget. So you say, okay, my butcher can pull 500,000 a month from my node or from my Bitvora wallet or any wallet that supports Nostr Wallet Connect. And now the merchant actually has the ability to process subscription payments, which is a huge missing piece for merchants. And if they want to use self-custody with their own Nostr Wallet Connect, great, they can do that. If they want to use the Bitvora developer wallet, great, they can do that. But where Nodeless really fell short is we were doing that custody for everyone, where now we say you need to bring your own Nostr Wallet connection wallet to the platform. We never have to touch any funds, and we can service everyone. So that product is launching soon. It'll be 100% open source. Of course, we're going to host a big free instance for everybody who doesn't want to self-host. But if you do want to self-host, run your own node, run your own Stripe for your own Bitcoin payments, that's all going to be ready for you by the end of Q3.
And in terms of the payments, is it all going to be done using Lightning, or is it also going to be the on-chain portion as well?
There is also on-chain, Lightning, and there will eventually be Cashew. I don't know if we're launching with Cashew. We're still trying to work that out, but it will have on-chain and Lightning. The Bitvora developer wallet is the first in the world to have Nostr Wallet Connect with on-chain. So Bitvora, myself, like we are the authors of the on-chain spec for Nostr Wallet Connect, and our wallet is the first one to implement it.
And in terms of the UX, people that are coders and creators, like that actually the people that program, notoriously they're not the best people to put forth a polished product. Do you have somebody that's going to be helping you with making it look pretty? Because that's really a big thing with Bitcoin, is the UX is challenging, and more so with Lightning too. So do you have anybody that's going to be making it, trying to help out you guys to just look pretty and easy to use?
I mean, I believe I have a designer and a front end person on our team. I don't know if you checked out bitvora.com. I would love your feedback on it, but we seem to think we put together something pretty sexy and easy to use.
Well, the website's it's sleek. I've been on your website. It is sleek. I have to
try the wallet.
I will have to check it out.
But in terms of like the commerce product, like it's going to be dead simple. You don't need to be a developer. Like if you're a developer, you could just use the developer's wallet and use the tools in there to like make your own apps. But why Stripe is so popular is because they made it so easy. You can just create a payment link with one button and boom, you can like just paste this little thing onto your website and now you have checkouts and subscriptions. So we're trying to replicate pretty much the same thing. So just make it dead simple for non-developers to use the commerce product. If you are a developer, just use the developer wallet and you can build whatever you want on it.
And here in Canada, there is the requirement, if you're going to sell your Bitcoin, to report that to our tax authorities, because you have to pay capital gains taxes on that. Is there going to be some sort of documentation record, so it's going to be easy for merchants, should they wish to sell their Bitcoin, that they have a copy of how much it is that they've collected the Bitcoin for and how much eventually they sell it for? Because that's going to be it is a headache for a lot of folks here. So I'm wondering if you're going to make that process streamlined.
Yeah, so there's no buying and selling on any of our products. Like we're a Bitcoin native platform and company. Like we will never do a fiat integration. But suppose you are a merchant and you've been collecting, Bitcoin payments throughout the years and you want to be a good boy, pay your taxes. We do have exports that give you like the exchange rate every single time a transaction was made. So it is easy for you to like calculate your cost basis. And then, you would work with your exchange to figure out what the gain is, if any. So yes, we do make it easy, but there's no buying and selling on our platforms.
In terms of the limitation of Lightning too, is there some recommendation you give in terms of a dollar value for using Lightning versus using on-chain, or you just say that whatever works for you, go ahead with it?
For Bitvora, it's pretty ubiquitous. Like the amounts don't matter. Like our channels are really big. So we can handle pretty big payments on Lightning. I would say like you probably don't want to do more than like 5 million sats on Lightning. You might as well just take it on chain because it's a lot of money and chain is just safer than Lightning. Yeah. But I mean, if the fees are crazy, which sometimes they are, then yeah, I mean, you could take Lightning. Probably the biggest payment we could process on Lightning right now is probably like 30 million sats. So that's probably as high as it goes. But I mean, that's pretty high. Unless you're buying
extremely high.
Unless you're buying cars with Lightning, we should be okay.
I want that car right now. I want that processed. I don't want to wait 10 minutes on average. I want that thing. So, and then in terms of the scalability, I'm not sure if you could provide any insight into this, but I've read in the Lightning white paper that the scalability just isn't there right now. But there are other alternatives or things that are being worked on along the side of it. Maybe not alternatives, but things like channel factories, for instance. Are you familiar with this? And what are your thoughts on the scalability of Lightning to 8 billion people in the world?
I am. It's a very important distinction is it's not scalable if every person needed their own node and their own channel. That is not scalable, but most people are not going to do it. They're going to use a custodial service. And in which case it absolutely is scalable to 8 billion people. If we use custodians. And the same thing would be true with channel factories as well, or hosted channels. Like it does help somewhat, but it's very hard for Bitcoiners to believe this, but most people are not cypherpunks and node runners or cryptographers, and they don't want to know. They just want to like download the app and just like click send. Yeah. That's what they want to use, like Cash App. They don't want to run their own nodes or like know any of this stuff. So from that perspective, in terms of scalability, like, yeah, that's not scaling Bitcoin. If you want to be like very precise, that Bitcoin, the underlying network and technology is scalable to 8 billion people. No, it's not. But the ability for 8 billion people to use Bitcoin with custodians is already here. And Lightning can already deliver that.
I would love to hear your thoughts about recently the fees on chain have been very cheap.
Yep.
What's your theory behind this? Because I it's been cheap for a long period of time in my eyes. I mean, I'd love to hear your insight into this.
Yeah, a couple of things. Well, for one, the reason why they went up so much was because of these NFTs like ordinals and runes and stuff. And when everybody lost all their money, which of course they were gonna, like, believe it or not, a picture of a frog's wiener on the blockchain is not valuable. Okay. So people had to learn that the hard way. So all of that is done. Like, people are basically not doing that anymore. There's a little bit of, I'm not going to say it's zero, but there's very little compared to like the peak mania of that. So we have that. Two, we're not at the peak of the bull market yet. So like the mempool is a great way to tell that we're not in bull market territory. Every single bull market, we saw huge spikes in fees, except for this one. So that means it's not over yet. I think to a certain extent, Lightning is cannibalizing it, but I don't think that much. That's basically just intuition. I don't really have anything to like sort of back that. But, if we take like the type of transactions that are happening on Nostr, people sending 21 sats or whatever, that would have never been happening on chain anyway. Not that that's Lightning's full use case, but I don't really see most of Lightning like sort of taking away from on chain. If anything, I would say it's, a lot of people, and trading is sort of just happening on ETFs now. So whereas people may have been withdrawing from exchanges, they're just saying, "Oh, screw it, I'll just trade in my, my 401k or RRSP or whatever government account." So I think it's a combination of all of these things, but just most importantly is like we're nowhere near the peak of the bull market. So, and just a lot of people are just not using Bitcoin.
Yeah, and Boomdust even says, kind of hinting at what you're saying there, that ETFs and MSTR maybe keeping fees low in this market because people, they want to take advantage of these tax-free saving account or just some tax-efficient vehicles, and they're not converting their fiat directly into Bitcoin. They're getting some derivative of Bitcoin. And yeah, for better or for worse, I think that there is something to say about the ETFs and MSTR taking away some of the pressure off the on-chain fees. So
I will say in general, my opinion is that this is bad. Low empty mempools and cheap fees means people are not using Bitcoin, and miners are losing incentives to secure the network. So it's, in general, it's not good. I'm not happy about it, even though my fees went down.
I don't think we're at a point yet. I know you're trying to bring commerce into the mix as much as possible, but I don't think people are at the stage they want to start spending their Bitcoin. They're looking at more of a store of value rather than a medium of exchange. The properties of being a medium of exchange is certainly there, and I'm not trying to downplay it, but I just think because of requirements with reporting with the tax authorities and so forth, I just think it just creates more friction when you're trying to go ahead and use it as a medium of exchange. That's just my opinion. Maybe I'm wrong, but
You're not wrong. That's absolutely correct for the majority of people. But just like we're seeing with Twitter's getting hacked and what we saw in Canada with bank accounts being frozen and stuff, like, people are going to have to learn the hard way that maybe some of that friction is worth it. But also, hopefully, with tools like Bitvora, that friction will go away and it will just actually be super easy. And you will use it because you can collect money all year and not have your margins eroded by inflation. Maybe you actually increase your profit margins because you're dealing with real money for once. So hopefully we can like tell that story and sell it. Certainly that's what I've seen in my own businesses. Like, I didn't have to upgrade my products or make a bunch of investments to increase my profit margins. I just needed to accept Bitcoin, and that was enough. So hopefully we could tell that story and just make it super easy for everyone, and this will continue to grow, and we could kind of fight that. Because the other thing too is a lot of influencers are out there talking about the same thing, going on CNBC, Sailor as one saying that, oh, like Bitcoin is not money and like stuff like this. So there's lots of fake Bitcoiners. Lots of people who don't know what they're talking about, going out there spewing a bunch of nonsense, which isn't helping.
It's just too bad because a lot of people look at some of these quote unquote influencers like Sailor, so to speak, and when you mention something like this, it doesn't help the whole. I mean, doesn't hurt it, but it's certainly not helping it. So it's just too bad he's saying that. I mean, I don't even want. I don't want to talk about him anymore. We've talked about him too much in the past. So
it is just too bad people listen to someone who doesn't hold his own keys. Has a bunch of Coinbase IOUs, and everyone listens like he knows what he's talking about.
100%. Now, I don't want to steer away from Bitvora too much. We'll come back to it. Are you familiar with ARC?
So yes, ARC Labs. I haven't personally played with the tech yet. And actually, my buddy from BTC Pay server, he's just joined ARC, and he's been sending me stuff to play around with. I'm a little late on it. So to answer your question, yes, I do know of it. I am excited about it, but my technical knowledge is pretty limited on it.
Got it. So let's steer back to Bitvora then. Now, in terms of the types of businesses that are taking advantage of the services, I would assume they're mostly small to medium sized. Am I correct? And probably, yeah. So like maybe you could give some examples without giving names of businesses that have used your services.
Just run of the mill businesses, one cool story is, so we onboarded, they're a GTA rim and tire shop, one of the biggest in the GTA. They started accepting it as payments. We put it out on Nostr. Hey, this is this, great place that now accepts Bitcoin. And then we had
say their name. If you said it on Nostr, so it's out there and open. So feel free to give the name if you have it off the top of your head.
It's Automotive Import Market. Automotive Import Market.
Yep, there you go. Because just to get anybody who's watching or listening, they want to pay with Bitcoin, here's your opportunity.
Yep, check them out. Great rims, great tires, the best. So yeah, we onboard a new client, put it out there on Nostr, and then a couple days later, the owner's calling me. They're like, "Yo, what's Nostr? Like, this person just came in, so they want to pay Bitcoin because they heard about us on Nostr," which is like super cool to see. We have a chiropractor, Dr. Kazemi, here in the GTA. He's like one of the top like Taekwondo. He like does the world. I don't want to get the names, but like the big Taekwondo like organization of the world. He's like one of the like lead chiropractors, does all the athletes. He's now accepting Bitcoin in his clinic. So that's a couple examples. We have a casino. And a bunch of also just like small indie developers. Maybe they're not a big business yet, but they have big dreams of building these like new SaaS companies with Bitcoin built in. And Bitvora just makes it super easy for them to get started. They don't have to like spin up a node and get liquidity, and maybe they built it wrong and their node gets hacked. They don't have to worry about any of that with Bitvora. They just get started right away.
See, a lot of people, I don't think they truly comprehend, like people like you have to build these tools for when a time comes when Bitcoin as a medium of exchange is ready to be used, then you're able to tap in to use them. So it's almost like you're building them long before there is a huge demand for them. So like eventually it will come, but right now it's still very much in the growing pains. People are not only using Bitcoin as a medium of exchange, few people are doing that, but few people are even understanding what the heck is Bitcoin. So we're still very much at the education stage more than anything, and we could go from there. So do you provide any education in-house in terms of what is Bitcoin, how it's used, and so forth?
So that's sort of been part of our sales cycle, but now that we're not really targeting exchanges, we're sort of trying to like attract developers inbound. We're going to be developing a lot more educational resources, but more just about why Bitcoin is better for commerce. There's plenty of content out there about what is Bitcoin, like how many Bitcoin podcasts are out there people can learn about Bitcoin, but there's very little about like, why is Bitcoin better in business? How will it help your business? What problems does it solve? There's very little of that. So we are going to be developing a lot of those resources as well, for sure.
There you go. Take a question from the audience. Boom Dust. How are you guys onboarding? Are you getting people coming to you, or are you proactively reaching out to them?
It's a mix of both. So, we promote Bitvora on Nostr, LinkedIn, on Twitter. We also have like internal salespeople that will reach out to people on LinkedIn. just reach out to existing networks. So sort of like all over the place right now, but where we're moving towards is just being very much inbound. So we want to rank really high on SEO. We want to make sure that these AI LLMs are familiar with all our documentation. So if somebody just like goes to ChatGPT, they're like, how do I make a Bitcoin wallet or whatever, that they'll recommend Bitvora. So trying to like just get in front of the LLMs and just like having that content out there when they're pre-training is like all part of our inbound strategy for onboarding.
And realistically, in a year from now, where do you guys see yourself at?
Well, hopefully we have a ton more developers and a ton more interest. I think what happens every cycle is, Bitcoin goes up a lot and a ton of people suddenly get interested. That all of those developers that are suddenly interested in Bitcoin will discover us. But like many Bitcoin businesses, you have to ride the cycles. A lot of people think that there won't be cycles anymore. I don't know. I'm not personally sure, but basically that's our plan. Is we're trying to stay for the long run to be like a very stable name in the industry and just be completely like tied together with open source and development. That's another reason why, like, as an example, we didn't take any VC money. Because if you take VC money, you sort of need to produce results like every quarter or at least yearly or whatever. And we know that we can't rush Bitcoin. Like, Bitcoin's going to happen when it happens. And we just want to basically go along for the ride. So we need to be able to survive. We need to be lean. And we need to just, be able to survive the long haul. So that's sort of like the entire strategy of Bitvora is like sort of this like open source, Bitcoin only, no stable coins. Everyone's getting really excited about stable coins and AI and all this kind of stuff. Like, we just have a very simple goal, and we just want Bitcoin to be the world money. So we're just sticking to that. And if we can make a little bit of progress in 1 year and a little bit after that, that's great. That's what we're looking for.
I'm curious, how would anybody implement AI into this? I mean, granted, I can't see the whole picture, but has somebody even come up with an idea how and come up with some reasonable? I'd love to know if there is something that AI could be included into this. I don't know how, though.
Well, there is a lot of hype about agents being able to make pay, like an AI agent being able to make payments, or two agents even being able to pay each other. But to me, it's a lot of hype. Like, I've seen certain demos where people are like, look, my AI agent just like bought a domain with Bitcoin. And it's like, was buying domains really like a very hard task that humans needed to solve? I don't know. And it only works in a perfectly like closed off environment. You can't just like prompt chat GPT, be like, hey, go buy a domain for me, and just does it. Like, so if I had to guess, what's happening is, VC money is flooding into AI. We saw this 2017. You just put blockchain in your name, and then suddenly your stock went up. So it's the same thing here. People are just like, you just add AI, and then suddenly you're just booming. Or buy Bitcoin on your balance sheet, and your stock goes up. So to me, there's a lot of nonsense going on. Not that AI isn't real. Of course, it's real, but like how it works together with Bitcoin right now, I'm not seeing anything that's like particularly truly exciting and like solving real problems that humans have. But I don't know, maybe somebody else will change my mind, but I haven't seen it.
Yeah. Well, it's certainly very exciting, and there's a lot of opportunities, a lot of unknown moving forward with AI. But yeah, I will see how it works out. With respect to developers that want to come in and want to build, is there any skill set like specific that you're looking for, like Rust, Go, C, like is there anything that you're looking at when you're encouraging developers to come in and help build what you're doing?
No, we're completely language agnostic, and we have software development kits for pretty much every popular language out there. So it doesn't matter if you're a lowly JavaScript developer or a Giga Chad Rust. You can work on Bitvora. So we're trying to attract primarily developers who they're not hardcore Bitcoiners. Maybe they're open to it. They just say, oh my God, Bitcoin is $1 million. Maybe I should look into this. And then they have an easy way to get started without this like huge daunting, like spin up a node, this whole kind of thing. So that's really who we're trying to target is like the pre-orange pill developers. If you're already a Bitcoin developer, you don't need
Yeah.
Bitvora. You already know how to run a node and do all this fanciness. But what about everyone else? The other like hundreds of millions of developers? That's who we're trying to reach.
Favorite node software?
I mean, I'm no maximalist by any stretch, no matter what. They all have their pros and cons.
Yeah.
I primarily run LND. But I'm not like enthusiastic, like, yeah, LND is way better than CLN. Like, I actually highly doubt it's better. I just so happen to use it because I'm comfortable with it and I've used it for a long time. But you know, I've met plenty of Bitcoiners who are way more advanced than me say that CLN is better. So I don't know. LND works just fine for me though.
There was some FUD going around very recently about LND. They were saying any version below, I think it was 0.8, 18.5, I can't remember the exact. And it turned out that that computer itself, that the hardware was compromised somehow. And so it was being drained. And so there's, you know what, there seems to be a huge battle between the two camps. And there was a bug maybe a couple of years ago, and I forget what it was, that was found out against LND that the Sea Lighting camp found, and they used that to expose. Like, it's just funny to see that they're both trying to achieve the same goal, but in a way they're fighting against each other. I find it to be almost counterproductive in a way, the fact that there's hatred amongst the two camps.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know them, so I'm not gonna say whether or not it's hatred. I would put a brighter spin and just be like, you know, they're being competitive, and that's how you get great products. And you know, LND is better if this exploit got highlighted and patched. That's good. So I mean, I don't know if there is bad blood or even if they have the same goals, you know, like, you know, LND has been really focused on these Taro shitcoins and, you know, stable coins and stuff. CLN was more on like Bolt 12 and blinded paths and stuff that I would consider like more on mission. But, you know, LND has done a lot of great stuff too. And the majority of people are using LND. You know, and there's plenty of others coming out there too, you know, like people can use Eclair, you know, or you can use Phoenix D. Does Phoenix D use Eclair? I actually don't know. Probably does. So there's plenty out there. But just, you know, overall, I'm not a maximalist. And LND, you know, you mentioned 2 bugs. There have been many bugs. Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
I could probably count over 20 like really bad ones that we've had over the last like 5 years or so. So, and I'm sure there'll be more.
And are you a Rust maxi?
No, I'm more of a Go maxi.
Oh, okay, very cool. Anything else that we missed on from Bitvora that you want to bring up? Because I want to make sure we exhaust that topic in totality.
No, I mean, that's really the big one. I just can't stress how exciting it is that we're going to have Bitcoin subscriptions in an open protocol way. You know, like people have tried before to like have a closed system of subscriptions, like maybe just your Coinbase wallet only works or something. But now it's like any Nostr wallet connect can now subscribe to merchant services. I think this is going to be absolutely massive. And we haven't had anything like that. This will be, you know, a world's first.
Awesome. I wish you the best of luck. Now, in terms of the relay, I'm very excited about that. I'm going to post it in the notes below, the relay link, so you could add that to your client once it's available to be added to your client. If you're using one of the ones that are already using it, that's able to use it, fine. So I'm waiting for an amethyst for me. So hopefully that's done soon. Yeah. Any last thoughts? Any last words before we sign off?
No, I think we covered it all, man.
Awesome. So with that, we're done, and we'll be back at this again on Monday. So with that, take care.